You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. This is where I'm supposed to do a cold open, but don't really have anything. Got kind of distracted by the news about this court case that now somebody has to pay $5 million to somebody else, and kind of distracted me from everything else. I mean, I got the news, I got the stuff for what we're doing today and the key collectibles, but $5 million seems like a lot and not enough at the same time. What do you guys think? But, all right, let's do this Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Tuesday, May 9th, and we are going to talk about the Incredible Hulk movie. We got a bunch of news to cover, and we're going to do some key Hulk collectibles. I want to say hey to Triple B, to Jeff, to Eddie, to Leonard, and to our new member, Southern Comic Geek. Good to see you all. Just so you guys know, I haven't forgotten about certain things. If you're wondering about the Warhammer stuff we were doing, we're going to get back to that. Luna was having some stuff where she wasn't available, so I didn't want to, I wanted to wait till she got it. So we're going to try to set up time with Luna again to talk about painting. But as you can see, I finally painted a full guy, so I should probably have just taken a picture and posted it, but maybe being blurry is a good thing. But I am finally painting my figures. As you can see, it's coming out pretty good. And I've got a pretty simple method on how to do this now, after doing a bunch of research that, this one took me maybe an hour total. And that was probably because I'm new at it. I'll get faster. But we will be getting back to Warhammer soon. Also, later this week, we will be getting back to our Jack of Hearts pitch. I picked this up. This is a old Marvel trading card by the Hildebrandt brothers. Both are the gold foil signatures on that. And this was one of Jack of Hearts' later costumes. I still prefer the really difficult one to draw, but I can see the advantage of this one. So we will be getting back to Jack, probably on Thursday. I think what's going to happen this week is we're going to go with the Hulk today. We're going to talk about Star Wars Visions tomorrow, and then we'll get back into Jack of Hearts on Thursday. So, hey, Kenneth, good to see you. So, all right, let's go ahead and we will start. Yes,
hey, Dan, real quick.
Yes, there you go. That is Grandmaster Voldus from the Grey Knights. And I painted him over the weekend, or Friday night. And so I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. For a guy who has, not steady hands and bad eyes, it worked out pretty well. So, all right, let's get to the news. All right. A lot of little tidbits of news here and there. This was kind of interesting one. I hadn't even realized this was going to happen, but Warner Brothers will be opening Beetlejuice 2, which I believe was supposed to be Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, on September 6th of 2024. So we're literally, 14, 15 months away from new Beetlejuice stuff. Now, the pick is expected to go before the cameras starting tomorrow. So that's how soon it's going to go. Tim Burton reteams with Michael Keaton in the sequel to the cult 1988 movie classic. How about feeling old now? 1988. That was the year I graduated high school. The film made 75 million, which back then is a lot of money. Nowadays, that's considered a weak opening for a Marvel movie. But it really kind of kicked up Michael Keaton as a star. He had been doing some comedy and stuff, but that really moved him up there. And then the next year, he got a chance to work with Tim Burton again on this little thing called, what was it? Batman. So yeah, they did Beetlejuice, then they did Batman. I think they were just trying to do nothing but B movies, you know. Now, in this new version, Wednesday's Jenna Ortega and White House plumbers Justin Theroux are already attached. It's being done by a script by Mike, oh, that's a tough name, Vukadinovich, with based on earlier drafts by Seth Grahame-Smith and David Katzenberg. So Jay was 6. Of course you were, Jay. So yeah, Beetlejuice, more Beetlejuice is coming. So I think Warner Brothers stood in the mirror and said his name 3 times or whatever it does to make that happen. Of course, the big opening over the weekend was Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. And the film has already passed the 300 million mark globally as of yesterday. So counting in Monday's box office, it actually got to 318.7 million. Now, the interesting thing about that is adding that to Disney's total global take or worldwide take for this year so far puts them over 2 billion. Now, the actuals for the weekend for the James Gunn directed threequel came in higher than they had originally thought. The global for the weekend was 289.3 million, a little higher than they had originally estimated. And that's thanks in part to a stronger than expected domestic and European take on Sunday. Then on Monday, they added in another 29.4 million worldwide. And, you know, this is pretty much happening from a strong word of mouth. People are going to see the movie, really enjoying it, and coming out and telling people about it, which is what used to happen for Marvel movies too, especially Guardians. Guardians, the first one, was built on word of mouth. So this, I expect this to have pretty decent legs. It should definitely win the box office next weekend, but then it goes up against Fast 10, whatever it is. So it probably won't be top of the charts for 3 weeks, but you never know. So, all right, moving on to TV, the CW and their new owners, Nexstar, have given a 13-episode 4th season order to the reboot of Walker. This starring, of course, Jared Padalecki from Supernatural. This is going to air in 2023-24. Now, this is the first renewal decision made by the CW as part of Nexstar. Now, previously, All American was renewed back in January, but this was actually part of the deal that Nexstar had to get CW. One of their stipulations was that the show would be renewed because it's kind of become the flagship now that a lot of the Arrowverse shows have ended, or with the Flash ending. Now, Walker has been considered one of the front runners to get a renewal for the scripted series because it's a strong ratings performer for them. And it ranks as one of the network's most watched linear series this season. So, you know, he's no Chuck Norris, but he's pulling in the viewers. All right, let's see. The winners of the 2023 Peabody Awards have been announced. And of course, PBS leads the pack. They always do, with a total of 6. but Apple TV and Disney Plus both have 3, and HBO Max has 2. Now, this year's winners include Atlanta, Better Call Saul, Bad Sisters, Andor, and Abbott Elementary. Now, the winners of the 83rd Annual Peabody Awards will be celebrated on Sunday, June 11th at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Los Angeles. This will be the Peabody's first in-person ceremony since the pandemic started, since back in 2019, as well as the first time ever in its history that the awards will take place in Los Angeles. So they took the gap years to decide to move it out to better weather. So, all right, this is something we've been kind of waiting on and not sure how this was going to fall out. So Jonathan Majors was in court today, and the basic take from it is he could end up in prison for up to a year if found guilty of the charges that were unveiled this morning in this domestic violence case. Now, that's just if he's found guilty. At the same time, the actor's attorney has come out and said that basically slamming the proceedings as a byproduct of the racial bias that permeates the criminal justice system. So now they had this swift little status conference at the Manhattan Court building today. And this is about 6 weeks after the Ant-Man and the Wasp star was arrested by the NYPD for domestic violence. Now, he appeared virtually for the hearing, and basically the Manhattan DA's office made public a superseding complaint with the charge of third-degree assault. Now, this is a Class A misdemeanor and has a maximum possible sentence of 12 months behind bars or a 3-year probation term. Now, the next hearing in this matter has been set for June 13th, and the judge informed Jonathan Majors that he's going to have to be there in person for that one, and that if he doesn't show, they will, basically cite him in contempt and all of that. So for now, the charges weren't dropped. We heard all of that right afterwards, that his lawyer was like, look, the charge is going to be dropped. The woman isn't going to press charges, all that. But the DA is still moving forward. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But June 13th will be the next chapter in this. All right. Fans of Tom Clancy might be a little surprised to find out that they're not going to have to wait that long for the final season of Jack Ryan. The fourth and final season of the popular Prime Video series, which stars John Krasinski. It's going to premiere on June 30th, which is just 6 months after the December 21st release of season 3. Now, this is the shortest gap we've had between seasons. I mean, I think it was like 14 months between seasons 1 and 2, and it was over 3 years between seasons 2 and 3. So for season 4, just to suddenly, come out, it's also going to only be 6 episodes, where all the previous seasons were 8 episodes. And they're doing something different on this one. Amazon is going to be releasing episodes in a different pattern. They'll release 2 episodes at a time. So they'll start on June 30th, and then you'll get the last 2 on July 14th, where all the previous ones were all just dropped and binge watched. I know this because when they dropped, I, of course, binge watched them. So I think I actually like this a little better. I'm a big fan of this series. I've loved all 3 of the previous seasons. And I'm looking forward to the 4th. A little disappointed it's going to be the last, though. This is a character I would like to have seen Krasinski just keep doing, or maybe move into a movie or something, But, well, if you're wondering how the writer's strike is going to affect Marvel, production on one of the MCU Phase 5 projects ended up wrapping early for the day due to the ongoing Writers Guild of America strike. We do still have Reacher. Oh, and that reminds me, I've got some news on Reacher. Marvel has seen a fair bit of casualty from the WGA strike, notably with the indefinite halting of Blade. And of course, they had picketing outside of the office for Wonder Man. Well, given the strike, Marvel writers are unable to add to their projects, which could be a big problem for future movies and shows. But Daredevil Born Again actually closed its productions around 1 p.m. early in Long Island, New York, without filming anything for the day due to the strike. Deadline says that the WGA tweeted out, WGA members on strike set up a sunrise picket, but members of the Teamsters Local 817 and IATSE Locals 829 and 52 are refusing to cross the picket line. Now, along with Daredevil and Wonder Man, also filming this month are Deadpool, Captain America New World Order, and Agatha Coven of Chaos, all of which could be seriously affected by the strike. Leonard says they should just reach out to comic writers instead of screenwriters. There are a ton of old school writers that could do the job. Yeah, but the problem with that is that would basically be hiring scabs. And then the comic writers who would take the jobs would have very little chance of getting work after the strike is over in the film industry as screenwriters. And a lot of comic writers want to be screenwriters. So that doesn't solve the problem. Also, Marvel and these things, the studios have agreements with to use union workers, which would go against all of the other unions they work with as well. So I don't think it's a simple matter of, if it gets prolonged, they might be able to look at that, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think I haven't spent a lot of time talking about this because I don't know how long it's going to drag out. But the two main things they're looking at have to do with compensation for streaming services and stuff like that. This new way that we watch shows compared to the last time that they went on strike back when Blu-rays and DVDs were just starting. So there has to be some kind of compensation for that. And also the idea of mini rooms, which really screw over writers when a production sets up a mini room instead of a full writer's room, because it forces writers to lock in on a show that they may end up not working on. And it keeps the number of writers down, so it restricts the number of jobs. I mean, there's a lot going on there. So that's probably a whole show worth to do. And I may not be the best person because I'm not as deep into that as I should be. Jay mentioned Reacher. We found out the other day that they had a character switch, an actor switch on the second season of Reacher, which is interesting because it wrapped up back in February. So it sounds like we're just now hearing. But Robert Patrick, the Terminator, Peacemaker, he was just in The Night Agent, he was on X-Files. Robert Patrick, who's also the older brother of the lead singer of Filter. Sorry, I just like that. Hey man, nice shot. He is taking over a role that I believe they've renamed. I've read the next season of Reacher is based off of one of the novels. Tell you which one in just a second, but it's based off one of the novels, and he's taking over the role of a former cop who's the head of security for a military arms country. Guys that make military weapons. It's based off the novel Bad Luck and Trouble, which is the 11th novel in the Reacher series, which seems like an odd to go from book 1 to book 11. But they introduced a contractor, a military contractor. In the first episode, they added a character that wasn't in the original novel in the first season, which was his friend Neely, who used to work with him in his military police unit. Well, book 11 is where she plays a major role along with the rest of his previous unit. So I think they jumped to 11 so that it's the only character that ever repeats in any of the Reacher books. So I think that's why they jumped to 11. It's a good story. It's a lot of history about Reacher as well. So I think it's going to do good. I'm really interested in seeing what Robert Patrick's going to do in that role. Let's see. Eddie says, I just hope the strike doesn't lead to jacked up streaming rates or I'll be cutting the cord. Yeah. Jay says, something that's not clearly talked about, Leonard, is that the unions who do other things on studios lots won't cross picket lines. Exactly. Essentially, what a writer's strike is doing is meaning Teamsters can't enter the lot because the union policy is not to cross picket lines. Exactly. Yeah. So, that's Kyle. Okay.
Not too smart to be Jay. Just I was watching a TikTok. That's the only reason I know it. Dan, you're talking about Reacher. I couldn't sleep last night, so I watched the original 2 Jack Reacher Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah.
Because they were on. And I think the thing about the show on Amazon is how good that show is benchmarked by how good those movies are, and nobody talks about it. Those movies are great. Sit in the middle of the night and eat popcorn and watch a movie that I wanted to talk to you about today because I not generally what I go for, but phenomenal films.
Oh, yeah. Both the Jack Reacher movies were a lot of fun. The only problem with the movies is that Tom Cruise, though he played the character well, is not Jack Reacher in the eyes of the fan base, because Jack Reacher is supposed to be 6'9", 6'8" or 6'9". So he's huge. And even though Alan Ritchson isn't that tall either, he's much taller than Tom Cruise. And he looks like this force of nature. So that's why, but Alan Ritchson is doing a remarkable job. What are the names of the movies? Not familiar with the Reachers. The first one's called Jack Reacher, and the second one is, I think, Jack Reacher Never Go Back or something like that. But yeah, they're both. The second one actually has Colby Smulders in it as well. But they're both good movies. So if you're a Jack Reacher fan, check them out. But just keep in mind, Tom Cruise plays it differently because he's small, but he still is badass. So, all right, and let's get to the final bit of news. And this is kind of in my wheelhouse of I hate the internet. In another case of the internet running off half-cocked, you can easily find articles today claiming that it's been confirmed Crypto the Superdog is going to be in Superman Legacy. And while that could totally happen, I could see James Gunn putting the Dog of Steel into the film. He likes working with animals. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But the reason people are claiming it's confirmed is from an interview that he and Chris Pratt did where they're kind of going back and forth. And this is literally what they say, that people are taking it as a confirmation that Crypto is going to be in the movie. Gunn says, I was hoping I could cast you as Crypto the Superdog in Superman Legacy. You could do motion capture on set and walk around on your hands and knees, but you can't talk. Pratt says, I'll do Crypto, but you have to pay me in crypto. Gunn says, I'll pay you in crypto, which amounts to $0, right? And they laugh. Pratt says, it sounds like there's going to be a character called Crypto in Superman. Breaking news. And the interviewer says, that's a scoop for me. Gunn says, it's a scoop, I guess. Pratt says, way to go. You're fired. Back to Marvel. They laugh again. That sounds like two friends having fun. It doesn't sound like confirmation. And I wouldn't bet the house on there being a white dog in a red cape in the theaters in 2025. So, again, I'm not. He said it on Twitter yesterday. Great. That's confirmation. But this is what everybody's pointing at as the confirmation. That's a joke. Twitter, fine. He confirmed it. But all right, let's go ahead and take our first break, and we're going to come back and talk about The Incredible Hulk. Be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We got a great lineup on the network today. Right after this, I will be sticking around with Jay and Kyle, and we will be talking about new books out this week. We have 3 first issues, including Kong the Great War, King Kong the Great War. We'll also be talking about the Great British Bump Off. Wow, my mind goes blank on the rest of the books. We would have had 4, but Kyle misread the internets.
Do you want our whole list? Because I'm sitting here looking at it right now, working on the slides.
Sure, go ahead.
Scar number 2, Don't Spit in the Wind number 2, Ghost Lore number 1, The Great British Bump Off number 2, Kong the Great War number 1, Lord of the Jungle number 5, Murder Inc. Jagger Rose or Jaeger Rose, depending on your European affiliations. Number 1, Mystere Annual Spawn of the Abyss, which I was angry when I realized it wasn't the Spawn book, and The Nasty number 2 from Vault Comics.
And one of those was good.
I gotta say, I got really amped when I thought we had a Spawn book, and I'm like, oh, it's just a Zenoscope book. Still good, but not Spawn. So.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, let's get into talking about the Incredible Hulk. Jay, you want to switch the... Okay.
What am I switching, Dan?
You did a graphic.
Oh, okay.
I used that. You might as well use it.
I got you, Jay. I'm here.
All right.
It's okay.
I used that for the slide. That was the beginning of the slide.
Jay had a little bit of a stroke there. We're good now.
Do you taste burnt toast or whatever it is? Hey, John, good to see you. Hey, Lieutenant's here. Very good. So, all right. So, The Incredible Hulk. This is... I always feel bad for this movie because it's better than people give it credit for. I think the opening is perfect. I love the whole. We don't see the Hulk. We get that old TV show feel. Like the Bill Bixby series feel. The Hulk is treated like a horror monster for the first part of it. Even when he comes out, he's kept in the shadows in the dark. The military doesn't know what they're going up against. Tim Roth is great as Emil Blonsky, this adrenaline junkie soldier, special forces guy on loan from MI6. So, or British Special Forces. I really love the opening, and the fact it takes place down in South America, all of that. I like that a lot. But the whole movie changes tonally once he gets out of there and he gets back to the States and he has to go find his research and stuff. And again, I think it felt like a complete shift in movies, maybe I've had him on the run more. I don't know, but I really love the opening. And it's not that the rest of it is bad. That Stan Lee cameo, though, yep. William Hurt is great as Thunderbolt Ross. May he rest in peace. Liv Tyler is great. And like I said, this movie gets I think it's remembered as being not so great because it came out right after Iron Man, and Iron Man was so good that this one didn't quite hit that level. But when you watch it on its own, it's a lot better movie. And yeah, see, that's the thing, is it did remind me of the Bill Bixby series, and they even have the little musical nod and stuff in there as well, and the purple pants. So I like that. They tried to put a lot of the Hulk from the comics in the series, because not only do you get Blonsky as the Abomination, you get Ross, and you get Betty, but you get Leonard, who is supposed to be Leonard Samson, Doc Samson. You get Samuel Stearns, who is, becomes the leader. So they do put a lot in there. Plus, you got the Stan Lee cameo. You got a Lou Ferrigno cameo. You have a nod to Jack McQueen or McGee from the old TV series with one of the kids from the school. And there's another name they drop in there, which is a character from the comics of this teenager, not Rick Jones, but another guy. But there's just a lot of Hulk stuff put in it. It's directed by Louis Leterrier, who is known for doing like the Transporter movies, stuff like that. Again, I think this is a better movie than people think of, but the problem is with it not being a Marvel distributed movie, it being a Universal movie, not as many people have had a chance to rewatch it. It's not on Disney Plus. Up until March, it was on HBO Max, and I don't think most people knew that. And as of now, it's not on any streaming service, which completely blows my mind because of how much Marvel is going back into the series now. We got the Abomination back. We got General Thunderbolt Ross back. It's the same character, just Mark Ruffalo is playing it instead of Ed Norton. And if you know any of the history on this movie, the director, Louis Leterrier, and Marvel Studios didn't want Ed Norton. Universal did. The actor they wanted was Mark Ruffalo. So that's why when they did the recasting over for the Avengers, they went and got the guy they wanted in the first place. So this would have been Mark Ruffalo had Universal not interfered. Does this movie make Abomination and Hulk Universal monsters? Loosely, in the same way that Deadpool is a Disney princess now, or whatever it is, and Princess Leia is a Disney princess. But they're pulling so much from it. So not only did we had Ross and the Abomination, but in the upcoming Captain America New World Order, we're going to get the leader, and it's going to be the same actor, Tim Blake Nelson. And we're also going to get Liv Tyler back as Betty Ross. So this is full on canon. I know a lot of people they forget about it. They act like it's not. But Marvel has, in the Kevin Feige way of, oh, you didn't like that, well, we're going to double down on it, is totally doubling down on the Hulk. And yes, the technology wasn't there as good as it is now. So the special effects don't look as good. I think Abomination does. But, and they were so meticulous about it. In the fight between the Hulk and the Abomination, there is a scene where the Abomination, who has these spikes off of his elbows, jams it into the chest of the Hulk and cuts him, which is really hard to do. Well, if anything you see the Hulk in after the movie, he's got a scar right there on his chest. Every time in the Avengers, in She-Hulk, when you see him, he's got a scar right there on his chest. It's part of the character. So all of that carried forward. I wonder if Doc Samson will return too. If I haven't heard of them going after Ty Burrell, so it's possible. I would like to see it because I always thought Doc Samson was a cool character. But we'll have to see. Technically, Corporal Klinger is a Disney princess. That feels like a Kyle comment. Yeah, if Klinger from MASH. Yep, it is. So Hulk would be a UM monster. Right. Hulk versus Frankenstein monster. How cool would that be? So I
Hulk
like that a lot.
Corporal Klinger. How cool would that be?
I was talking about Klinger the other night with Jim Beard, who is from where Jamie Farr is from and knows all the references that Jamie uses as Klinger and works at the restaurant that is even mentioned in MASH.
Jim Beard sells me my T-shirts with Jamie Farr's face on them. That's how I know Jim Beard.
Okay.
Mutual love for hot dogs and MASH.
There you go. But there's something interesting. When the Avengers came out, and there's that scene with, near the end, Mark Ruffalo finally shows up to the battle in New York. And Captain America says, you should get angry. And he says, so that's my secret. I'm always angry. And he transforms. A lot of people were surprised by that. It's like, oh, well, how did he get control over it? But if you watch the movie again, you have to remember that two things happen. First thing that happens is he does get the treatment from Samuel Stearns. So there's a good possibility that the way everything functions in him has changed. So yeah, the Hulk can still rage out and stuff. But it seems like that was the first step in the conversion to the Hulk we have now from the Rage Monster. And then the second thing is, if you remember, and if you haven't seen this in a long time, the final scene in the movie, well, besides the scene with Tony Stark, is Banner on the floor in, doing like a yoga pose, and it says number of days since incident, it says 31, and then he comes up and his eyes are green, and the number goes whoop, 0. That's right there telling us he got it figured out. He knows how to force the transformation. He can make it happen. So it shouldn't have been a big surprise when we saw it in the Avengers, because they gave it to us in the Hulk. He could control the transformation. So I think that, that itself is a neat little tidbit there. But doesn't he smile too when his eyes turn green? Yes. And that's why, like I said, that's him realizing he's figured out how to transform. He's figured out the trigger mechanism. I love MASH. There was a time I could act out every episode word for word. Yeah, I used to be able to quote the Death of Henry Blake scene at the end where Radar comes in and talks about his plane spun out. Henry Blake was shot down over the Sea of Japan. The plane spun in. There were no survivors. Yeah, that was sad. So, yeah, I think this movie doesn't get the credit it deserves. It is definitely better than some of the other Marvel movies. It's better than Thor: The Dark World. I'd say it's better than the Eternals. And I think it's because, like I said, Iron Man came out, then Hulk came out, and that's what it was compared to. So if you haven't watched this and you have the opportunity, you should, especially before Captain America: New World Order comes out. And I'm hoping that with it not being on HBO Max, then maybe Disney is trying to make a deal to get it onto Disney Plus, because it needs to be as part of the chronological thing, just like the Spider-Man movies are starting to make their way over. I'm hoping they're making a deal with Universal to become the streaming home, because what is Universal? Universal is Peacock, right? I think so. NBC Universal, yeah. So will they put it on Peacock, or because it's not on there yet? It's currently nowhere. But I wish Disney would just make some kind of deal and get the Hulk and Submariner back from Universal. Yeah, Submariner is also Universal. Same deal, where they can use them in a movie, but they can't make it a Hulk movie or a Submariner movie. So I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on it, like how long they have to go between making movies. If there is, that should be up by now. But so all right, so that's my thoughts on the Hulk rewatch. There's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good characters, a lot of good acting, and again, I just think it didn't get the credit it deserved. So, but we are going to come back in just a moment and talk about some key Hulk collectible issues. So, be right back.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons: to sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.
People, welcome back. We got the comics to talk about, but Ed, you're right. It is much better than Man of Hulk. Remember to stick around for in-stores this week coming up after this. And please hit the like and subscribe buttons down there. We're going to blast through this because I suddenly found this list we should also talk about. But if we don't get it covered here, then I think Kyle will let me bring it up in the next show. So let's go through these books. All right, we got The Incredible Hulk #1, of course, first appearance of Hulk, Bruce Banner, Betty Ross, Rick Jones, and General Thunderbolt Ross. This is a $210,000 comic. Median price on this is $37,000. $7,000 might pick up one that's falling apart at the seams. Hulk #2, I bring this one up from 1962 because this is where his skin turned green. He was gray in the first issue. Printer problems led to him being green. And it was just kind of crapshoot what color they decided to go with. This one still goes for over $14,000. You can pick one up in the median price for about $4,800. Low end, you're still paying probably close to $1,500. Fantastic Four #12 is the first ever crossover of a Marvel character with his own series into another series. And it's also the first battle between Hulk and the Fantastic Four. This one goes for $16,000. Median price is close again to $5,000. Another $1,500 for the low end. Avengers #1. This is an obvious one. First appearance of the Avengers, and Hulk joined the team, which of course lasted for one issue. He left the next issue. This one goes for $21,000. It's $5,700 for a median price, $1,800 for a low end price. Fantastic Four #25 from 1964. This is the first time that the Thing and the Hulk battled each other specifically, not the two teams, or him, the whole team versus him. Just Hulk and Thing. This goes for $1,200. $450 for a median copy, $95 for a low end. Compared to the others, this is a deal. All right, and then of course, Tales to Astonish #60. This is where the Hulk started getting stories here because his book didn't last that long. So he ended up sharing Tales to Astonish with Giant Man at first, eventually the Submariner. This goes for $350, $75 for a median copy, $25 for a low end. And see already here it is number 88 and 67. He's teaming up or sharing the book with Submariner. And this is the first time the Hulk ever used the tagline, Hulk smash. This goes for $110. You can pick one up for about $35 in the median, maybe even a $12 for a low end copy. Incredible Hulk #102. This was when Tales of Astonish then switched back to being the Incredible Hulk. So this was 5 years after the Incredible Hulk run, which was only like 5 or 6 issues. I mean, it really was small. So he returned. This one goes for $960. $300 for a median copy, $100 for a low-end copy. This is the iconic Jim Steranko cover from Incredible Hulk Annual #1 from 1968. We've seen it copied a million times over. This goes for $980. on the high end, $330 in the median, $75 on the low end. And we talked about Doc Samson. This is Doc Samson's first appearance in Incredible Hulk number 141 of 1971. This goes for $275, 110 in the median, and 30 on the low end. But look at the dialogue there. Foolish female, this victory shall belong to Doc Samson. He never speaks like that in the comic. But all right, is that our 10? Yep. So I'm going to bring this list up because I think it's amazing. Just found this while on break. Dolly Parton, who recently got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, decided, well, if people want me to do rock or be part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I should put out a rock album. So she's going to be doing covers of rock songs. And the list has come out of the tracks that she's going to be doing, but she has guests on most of them. She's going to do the song Rockstar with Richie Sambora. She's going to do Every Breath You Take with Sting. Open Arms with Steve Perry, Magic Man with Ann Wilson, As Long as I Can See the Light with John Fogerty, Either Or with Kid Rock, I Want You Back with Steven Tyler, What Has Rock Ever Done for You, which will feature Stevie Nicks. She's going to do Purple Rain, but that's just her. Baby I Love Your Way with Peter Frampton, I Hate Myself for Loving You with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Night Moves with Chris Stapleton. She's going to do a cover of Wrecking Ball with Miley Cyrus. Satisfaction with Pink and Brandi Carlile. Keep on Loving You with Kevin Cronin. Heart of Glass with Debbie Harry. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. On Me with Elton John. Tried to Rock and Roll Me with Melissa Etheridge, Stairway to Heaven with Lizzo. She's going to do a cover of We Are the Champions, Bygones with Rob Halford and Nikki Sixx and John 5, My Blue Tears with Simon Le Bon, What's Up with Linda Perry, You're No Good with Emmylou Harris and Sheryl Crow, Heartbreaker with Pat Benatar and Neil Girardo, Bittersweet with Michael McDonald, I Dream About Elvis with Ronnie McDowell and the Jordanaires. She's going to do a cover of Let It Be that's going to have Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Peter Frampton, and Mick Fleetwood. She's going to do Free Bird with Ronnie Van Zant. I mean, that's just a phenomenal list of rock stars and stuff. That's just, I love that. I saw that list earlier and I'm like, yeah, I got to read that out because that's just crazy. Let's see. It says she should have done Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day with Kiss. That would have been epic. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a couple good Kiss songs that she could have done. What the hell soundtrack is this? This is a whole new album that Dolly Parton's doing with all of those people. So she's doing covers of all of those songs, JD. Kyle says, I got the tingles. Yeah, that blows my mind that she's going to be doing Let It Be with the Beatles, the living Beatles. And then you throw in Peter Frampton and Mick Fleetwood. Wait a minute. Mick Fleetwood's a drummer. Ringo Starr is a drummer. That's going to be weird. Not sure how that's going to work. So everyone does seem to love Dolly. Yeah, and she's one of those people that no one has a bad word to say about her. She does all that charity stuff. Yeah. No, Jay has the tingles. Wish we could differentiate that. Yeah. So, yes, we have to differentiate between Kyle Tingles and Jay Tingles. All right, guys, stick around. Who is this? Oh, that I'm talking about is Dolly Parton. As long as it's not the Peter Tingles, exactly. So stick around. We're going to do In Stores this week with Kyle, Jay, and I. Then Minute to Skim It with the crew from Space Cadets. And then Mint Hunters on tonight. So we got a big lineup here. stick around. But I also want to tell you before we go, there's a big thing going on Friday with the original art experience or original art show. He keeps changing the name. Nick has gotten his hands on all 20 interior pages from it's not Amazing Spider-Man, excuse me, Spider-Man #7, the recent book that came out from Dan Slott and Mark Bagley, where Spider-Boy debuts. So it's the end of the big end of the multiverse saga thing, or Edge of the Multiverse. He's got all the pages, including the pages where Spider-Boy is introduced. He's going to be selling them. He's breaking them up. So if you want to get a piece of history, he's going to have them all. He's going to have a bunch of other stuff too. But all the pages from Spider-Man #7, where Mark Bagley introduced and Dan Slott introduced Spider-Boy, which is supposed to be a huge thing for Marvel, that's going to be up for auction on Friday. So stick around for that. Another spider-powered character. Yeah, because there doesn't seem to be enough of them. But then again, if you think about it, there's always spiders everywhere. Makes sense that they're in the Marvel Universe too. So, hey, Backwoods, good to see you. Triple B, good. I'm glad you guys were all here. We will be back tomorrow where we're going to talk about Star Wars Visions. I'm about halfway through the episodes. I'm going to get the other half through, and we'll talk about that. So, and then on Thursday, remember, we're going to get back to our Jack of Hearts pitch for as a Disney Plus series. So, thank you, Ed. So I will be right back with Jay and Kyle. Go ahead and flip over to the other one.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.